forum for candidates running for the school board. We appreciate that you're stepping up to serve our community. Before I go through anything else tonight, we usually start our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance, so I would just ask that we rise and state the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before I go over the procedures for tonight's forum, first I'd like to go over a couple of things that possibly the community is not aware of in a voting procedure that you can do. Tonight we have two official candidates listed on the ballot. Angie Lathrop-Trinan is the incumbent, and Christy Mcmorris are both officially listed on your ballot when you go in to vote. We have three write-in candidates. In order of how they've registered is Julie Burkholder, Terry Haag, and Heather Barron. While write-in candidates are not listed on an official ballot, you are eligible to receive votes. What you can do and what we encourage community members to do as you go out to vote, either early voting through April 2nd, in person is on Tuesday, April 6th, is when you go to your polling place, when you walk in and hand your driver's license, if you ask for a list of the registered write-in voters for that election day, they will hand you a list of the candidates that you are able to write in. So that's for any election. So know that as long as you ask for it, that way somebody maybe doesn't know how to spell your name, they'll have the name in front of them. So when you go in to vote, you ask your town clerk or your city clerk for a list of the registered write-in candidates. Rules for tonight. Before we started, each person picked a card for their seat at the table tonight. And in order, we will start with Christy Mcmorris. Each candidate will have 90 seconds for an opening statement. After opening statements, we will start with question number 1, which will be directed to Angie. And then each person from there will have 60 seconds to answer the same question before we move on. This is uninterrupted. At the end, each candidate will give a 90-second closing statement. And lastly, we'll say it 14 times tonight, remember to vote early through April 2nd and in person on April 6th. Before we start, do you have any questions? Yay! First question is from Denise Bishop from Lodi.
No, we have opening.
Oh, I'm sorry. I screwed it. I feel like Alex Trebek here. All right, opening statement starting with Christy.
Okay, go. My name is Christy Mcmorris, and I have lived in Lodi for 4 years. I have 3 children in 3 different schools within the district, my youngest being in 2nd grade, so we're here for a good long while. I am in my 4th year of coaching in the school district. I coach at the high school. I'm the varsity softball assistant coach, and then I coach at the middle school. I'm the head coach for volleyball there. I'm also the chamber director in town for our local chamber of commerce. And if there's anything about me that I can say, I am absolutely passionate about community. Passionate about our community and how I can make a difference and how I can leave this place better than how I found it. So I saw that our community had a need, and I stepped up to the plate. The need is a position. There's 3 seats open on the school board, and I feel that I have value to bring to the school board, and I feel that I have a fresh energy and presence that I can bring. So I stepped up and I submitted my papers. I want to help lead our school district in a very healthy way for our children. When I sat down and I thought about what it meant to be on the school board, my first thought came to me is I'm doing this for our kids tomorrow. It's for their tomorrow. It's for their future. It's for the direction that they're going to take. Our kids deserve people that are willing to make hard decisions for our community, and I want to be that person for them.
I'm Angie Lathrop Trinan, and I have had a three-year term on the school board so far, and I'm running for re-election. I moved to Lodi in 1993 to practice veterinary medicine, and I met a lot of people through their pets. Since then, my corn maze and pumpkin patch business was a little detour I took, and that has kind of taken over my time, so I'm not practicing medicine right now. But welcoming visitors to the Lodi area, hiring a lot of the high school students. So that's what I do in my regular time. I've enjoyed being on the school board for the last 3 years. This past year has been a lot of really difficult decisions, of course. But, I believe that, as Christy was saying, in a community, you step up and you need to do the things that the community needs. The schools are the core of, especially a community like Lodi. I mean, the schools are such an important part of the lifeblood of the community. And my kids went through the Lodi School District. My youngest graduated from high school this past summer during the pandemic. And my older son graduated 3 years earlier and went through the special education program. So I would like to have another 3-year term at the school board.
Thank you.
All right, hi, I'm Julie Burkholder. I've lived here since 2004. I have 2 children. One is an 8th grader and one is at Milwaukee. I'm married. I am a dental assistant in Madison. I do a lot with the community here. I run the Lodi Neighborhood Watch Group and very involved in a lot of other extra things that happen in the community. I have a passion to help this community, and I would like to carry this on into the school board system. My way of serving the community, I want to be part of this board so we can make changes from the community input, so we can hear what the community has to say and bring that to the board. I want to be a voice for our children, the parents and teachers, work together for a stronger relationship. I'm going to read off my notes because I'm terrible at reading just on the fly. Between the district and the public. I want to listen and respond to the community's concerns and explain to the district some of the priorities that the public have. Let's see here. Is my 90 seconds up yet?
15 seconds.
All right, so anyway, I feel like I can bring to the board my ethnicity of, non-white and other people. Okay, now I gotta stop. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Heather Barron. My husband and I are both from Lodi, and we have 4 children. My oldest graduated from UW-Madison in December of 2019, and currently we have a senior, a 9th grader, and a 7th grader in the Lodi School District. We own a painting business that my husband started while he was in college. I stayed home with our children while also helping to run the paperwork side of our business. I like to volunteer for the school. I've been in other parent-run school groups through the years. I've coached our kids in numerous sports. I was a parent volunteer for the school musical and the music department, and I've helped run the Lodi Youth Cheerleading Program for over 10 years. I've always held a huge respect for teachers through all the volunteering and getting a little bit of perspective of what they do on a daily basis. Having 4 children in the district and communicating with so many teachers over the years, I understand the impact teachers have on our youth. I've always been proud of our district and believe Lodi School Board has made great decisions. This year changed that a little bit for me. I realize I had extremely hard decisions to make, but it makes me a little nervous when a board has a 7-0 decision on such a huge issue. I just think I could bring a different perspective to the table. I won't pretend to know everything, but I'm a fast learner. I've never worked in the school, but I have always and still am a very involved mom with a very strong motherly instinct. I'm dedicated to what I sign up for. I love to learn and hear what people have to say on things, and I always want what's best for our kids in the district. I have opinions on things, just like we all do, but I'm also open-minded and don't get offended by disagreements. For years, the district has provided so much joy for me to be involved in my kids' lives, so now I feel it's the time to help where I can.
Nice job.
Hi, my name is Terry Haig. I'm the oldest one here. I'm 67. So I'm a mom and I'm a grandmother. And I graduated from the Lodi High School in 1972, so I've been here a long time. I have 3 children that graduated from the Lodi school system and 2 grandchildren presently here. So my claim to fame here, besides high school, was I was a school nurse for 26 years. So I had always wanted to, once I retired, become, serve on the school board. I think it's a civic duty that I think it's really important because, as everybody has said, it's the kids. I mean, they are our future. There's no doubt about it. And they've had a struggle just like everybody else this year. And my background is health. It's mental health. I have a huge, long time background in mental health and public health, as well as having been a school nurse. And I just really feel like coming back from being virtual, having all these disruptions, coming back hybrid, and then coming back, there's a lot to do. And it would be really poor of everyone to not just sit back and reflect, not only on this district, on other districts, what went well, what we need to do for another time. This isn't our last pandemic. I hate to tell people that, but it's true. The first one I was here for was H1N1. They have a pattern. We just never know what they're going to be like. So, we all need to work together. We need to be flexible, and that's why I'm here.
Good, thank you. Thank you each for your opening statements. Now, we shall move on to questions. Starting with Angie, you will each get 60 seconds to respond. The first question comes from Denise Bishop in Lodi, and she says, or asks, what role do you think you will play on the school board?
I guess as the incumbent, I can speak to that. I'm actually the chair right now of the Contract Review Committee, which deals with staff contracts and other staff-related issues. I'm on the Curriculum Committee related to curriculum and learning. I think I've been on the board for 3 years, and schools are kind of a complicated animal to me. I haven't ever worked in a school. I feel like after 3 years, I have been learning constantly about, literally how the systems run, what the teachers are doing, what's happening with the administration and staff, and how all those pieces interplay. And one of the reasons I'm running for a second term is that I feel like it takes a while to learn how to do all of those things. And so I'd like to bring my experience to the board again and continue doing hopefully good work.
Are you going to ask us the question again?
I
or-
will.
Okay.
Yep. So the question is, what role do you think you will play on the school board?
I think that I will play a community role as a community advocate for a small group of Lodi people. I would, I believe me being an Asian person, I can have other people kind of connect with me, and I can bring that to the board, their opinions where they might not feel comfortable opening up to somebody else that is on the board. And I think that we as a community need to be a little bit more open-minded of other racial things that have gone on in this community that has been brought up this past year. I feel like I can give a little input from my side of the story and the backgrounds of other people.
Good. Question? What role do you think you will play on the school board?
I think with just a different perspective, I've never worked in the school, but I volunteered. I've lived in the community since I've been 10 years old, so I'm very involved. And with having 4 kids, the way I could see things where it would obviously work for one kid isn't going to work for all kids. And I understand that immensely, 2 boys, 2 girls. And so I'm pretty open-minded to things, and I just think being involved and coaching and volunteering, I see there's a lot of stuff in the community, and I want to keep that going for Lodi. And I just feel that being a mother and knowing that we need to just have every opportunity available. So I just feel like I can bring a perspective from that.
Good. Terry, what role do you think you will play on the school board?
Well, I know there's committees to serve on, so that's always something that, I'll be looking at, obviously. But I'm a good listener. I mean, that's part of what I've had to do for a long time. And I'm a great advocate for anybody that I feel needs, or they ask to be advocated for. I'm really a big picture observer person. So, I mean, I even remember when I started being a school nurse, you don't walk in and break what's not broken. You see how things run, you kind of, who does what, when you do what, the community, everyone. Working with kids, parents, teachers, it's a big picture thing. So I think that's huge. I love brain research, and so somebody was saying everybody doesn't learn the same. And that's why to me, it's exciting now, post-COVID, to look at how did people learn? How can we expand how people learn? There's all sorts of stuff out there the Lodi School District's been good at doing, but maybe we need to ramp up some things and, just where we put our focus.
Good. And Christy, what role do you think you will play on the school board?
Yeah, I understand with the committees, you're part of the board and then you're part of a committee as well, a couple of them if you choose. Curriculum is a big passion of mine. I homeschooled my children for 5 years before we put them into traditional education, and I'm passionate about children learning. Just like Heather said, children learn in all different ways, and different curriculums play into that. And so curriculum is a big, big passion of mine. I'm also interested in policies. I know that's not a favorite one to make policies. It's not that I want to make policies. I want to understand policies. I want to make sure that they're the healthiest for our district, and play a role in that. I do bring a perspective from being a mother of 3 children and bringing that freshness to the table, as well as from coaching and then the business community here in town. I think that plays a big role within the board. Meshing those two together, I think it brings a lot of value.
Great. Question number 2 starts with Julie. This is from Melissa Card out of the city of Lodi. Are you in favor of more student offerings related to the arts and foreign languages?
I am in for. My oldest daughter is very, very into the arts. She went to UWM, Art School of Pact. I feel that the art program and the music program is getting kind of pushed off to the side, which it shouldn't. It should be just up there, sports and everything else. There's a lot of kids that are getting, bumped aside because of, football is number 1, and then baseball and whatever else, and arts and music is down here. Everything should be leveled at the same, they should get the same benefits, they should get the same funding, which I feel like it's not happening that way. So I'm an advocate of the arts and music. I believe in, even starting it at a young age, that's where they grow to like it, just like they do with football and everything else for young children.
Good. Heather, are you in favor of more student offerings related to the arts and foreign languages?
Absolutely. My oldest was probably the most artsy, if you want to call it, out of my kids. She was in the musical, she sang, she loved it. And with her being in there, it opened up a whole nother world for her. She saw that these kids that were in the arts, the way they get to blossom from that, because, I love sports too. My kids are big in sports, and I think sports are great. But usually sports are offered at a younger age, and arts really don't. So once they get to high school, and they get to be in that, and actually be comfortable in their surroundings, it's amazing what these kids can do. And I also believe that, sports are just as important too. But arts really, foreign language especially. I know we offer Spanish. Now, I don't know if I don't think offers anything else. I think it would probably be something that we could possibly look into. I know a lot of other schools in the areas offer other languages, and it's definitely not going to hurt.
Terry, are you in favor of more student offerings related to arts and foreign languages?
Yes, I certainly am. Again, I'll go back to my own kids as well as my grandkids, but also the whole brain research thing. You don't get a well-rounded individual unless you have all of those. And again, some learners are musical learners. If you have a room full of musical learners, they're always drumming, they're moving, they're rhythmic, and so that's the way to get to some kids. And we should be doing foreign language earlier especially, because people learn foreign languages younger better. You know, high school isn't the best time to start. And I'd love to see more foreign languages. I was a nurse at the French camp in Bemidji 2 summers ago, and it was a great opportunity. And there's ways to hook in. That doesn't mean you have to have, you know, there's creative ways to look at how to do that. But yes, and forensics too. I mean, nobody talked about forensics, but that's part of the arts, and it's a skill. It's a great skill.
Good. Christy, are you in favor of more student offerings related to arts and foreign languages?
That would be a resounding yes. I think we leave way too much on the table if we don't offer these to our children. I think, like you said, it makes them a well-rounded student. It gives them an opportunity that they can get in school that they might not be able to get outside of the school. Their family may not be able to provide that for them. So I think, yes, it teaches them the different cultures. It teaches them, it's a great outlet. Music and the arts are a great outlet for students. Some students are athletic, some students are not. And this is another way that they can express themselves, and I think that that is a beautiful thing. As a wife of a creative and a mom of 3 creatives, I'm the only type A in my family. I understand this very well, and I understand my 7-year-old, now 8, saved up for an entire year and bought her own violin because she loves music so much, and she picked it up as a complete natural, and I think we need to offer that to all children if they want it.
Perfect. Angie, are you in favor of more student offerings related to arts and foreign languages?
Yes, I think one of the things that students need more than anything is a way to find their people within the school community, like you know, as you guys have mentioned, like arts, the various co-curriculars that are not necessarily sports. We've also integrated art within the STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, art, and math, and I think that can be further integrated within the regular arts curriculum. You know, those are things like photography, you know, using like, you know, Photoshop and things like that, but as related to the traditional arts. I think the pandemic has also taught us about creative ways to expand offerings. Like, for instance, in foreign language, we only have Spanish. Can't necessarily have another entire teacher necessarily for Japanese or, you know, whatever. But we are finding creative ways where online or allowing students to go elsewhere for languages, which I think is great. So.
Yeah. All right. This question starts with Heather. This is from Andrew Moore, who is in the town of Decorah, but children go to the Lodi schools. It is a priority for my family and many other families in our community to get our kids back in school full-time ASAP. How are you going to ensure that all of our kids have and will continue to have the option for in-person learning?
I am also a big supporter of that. I feel that the school probably should have offered hybrid from September. The reason I believe that, I know COVID is scary, it's still unknown, but we also as a board, we can't take opportunities away from our kids. And when the school decided to not open at all, I just felt like you took so many opportunities away from them. I mean, I came to this school board meeting pleading for them to open because I knew, and I'm not even an educator, knew that these kids are gonna struggle. And sure enough, we had to open because kids were struggling. So my vote will be to open. And I very respectfully support people that don't want to go to school and they're nervous. They have situations that they can't, and that's why I think hybrid is the best. At least then you still have the option. I'm hoping full-time would come around and we don't have to even think about being scared of COVID, but at the same time, we still need that option.
Do you want me to repeat that whole question?
Sure.
You got it. It is a priority for my family and many other families in our community to get our kids back in school full-time as soon as possible. How are you going to ensure that all of our kids have and will continue to have the option for in-person learning?
I love that question. Continue to ensure is always that's a biggie, you know. My heart is, yes, I believe they should be in the school buildings. I mean, they've lost the giggles, you know, and they need to be together. That's how they learn to work in community, how to be a community. On the other hand, I am definitely about their safety and the health of them as well as everyone. I think what we have is an advantage of all of us right now compared to the board that sat here last year at this time, or is that we now know what has worked. There's a lot of places that have worked well with hybrid. I think hybrid's been going well here because people have had the choice, to either be at home or send them to school. It seems like it's working. So I think that will be the thing, is to really look around at what has worked here, but at other places too. I mean, there's places that didn't close at all, even in Maine, because they had outdoor schools. All the classes were outside. So I think there's just a lot to learn, and we need to go there to ensure that they can be in school.
Christy, it is a priority for my family and many other families in our community to get our kids back in school as soon as possible. How are you going to ensure that all of our kids have and will continue to have the option for in-person learning?
I share in that priority. It's a priority for me to get my children back into school full-time. I'm excited for it come April 19th. I was excited for us to go into the blended model. I'm a huge proponent of giving people a choice. I too share in the sentiment that I wish there would have been a choice to go in person or to stay virtual and not have the choice made for us as a community and as parents. I'm not afraid to bring up an opposing view. I'm not going to follow the crowd. I do follow data, and I am not going to live by fear. I believe that the school district has taken great safety measures in ensuring that our kids are safe in person. I ran a very successful, shortened as it may be, but a successful volleyball season in the middle school, and I believe it can be done. So that would be my vote.
Angie, it is a priority for my family and many other families in our community to get our kids back in school as soon as possible. How are you going to ensure that all of our kids have and will continue to have the option for in-person learning?
Well, I think that, we're heading into full-time in-person learning coming up shortly. We've learned a lot over the last year, and we are continuing to learn a lot about how to manage risk with disease risk specifically. And, we're pushing that forward too, because we don't know what's going to happen over the next 10, 12, 18 months. We're looking at ventilation systems, we're looking at policies that have worked in other school districts, and I do believe that the priority, my priority, and the board's priority will be to maintain in-person learning. We have so much more information and so many more tools available now, and we won't be blindsided at least by a pandemic. I mean, other items may, but now we are really thinking about this could be there could be another one, or this could continue to plague us.
Julie, it is a priority for my family and many other families in our community to get our kids back in school as soon as possible. How are you going to ensure that all of our kids have and will continue to have the option for in-person learning?
I'm an advocate for, children going back to school, and I'm also an advocate for the parents that want to keep their kids home and safe. So I'm on the border of both of them, but myself, personally, I really wanted my child to go back to school for mental health reasons and for that. So as long as, following the CDC guidelines, I think the board did a great job doing that and getting the kids back, trying to get them back on track to get into school, and how they did it, I think they followed it correctly. And I wouldn't want to go against them on how they did it. I think that just, implementing policies and following through and having parents follow through with the policies would get everybody back into school safely the next year.
Good. Moving on to Terry, the next question starts with you. This is from Jeff Lorenz in the city of Lodi. Are you familiar with the financial condition of the school district currently, and how would you describe it?
I'm going to have to say I'm not currently up on all parts of it, no. And I would describe all small school districts as struggling, just because I know that the different programs that were coming in and the tax, the way it all runs, hasn't been supporting the small schools in the same way. So I know it's not great, but I don't know exactly what it is, so I can't comment any more than that to that.
Okay.
I would look forward to finding out about that, knowing more of it.
Christy, are you familiar with the financial condition of the school district currently, and how would you describe it?
I can't speak to the actual financial condition of the school district, no. It does concern me that I heard of many families that unenrolled as soon as the school district went to all virtual. But as far as where we are at exactly, no, I can't speak to that.
Okay, perfectly fine. Angie, are you familiar with the financial condition of the school district? And if you answer you don't, this could be an issue tonight. Just kidding. Are you familiar with the financial condition of the school district currently, and how would you describe it?
Yeah, I am. I mean, that's obviously a big part of being on the school board is the budgetary part, is the financial part, is, dealing with referendums and that kind of thing. What I will say about the, and all, smaller school districts, yeah, there's always things you want that the money is not there for. But a lot of what the school district does is first to say what's the biggest asset we have, and that's the staff, that's the teaching that are, literally there in front of our kids every day, and to prioritize spending on keeping staff and attracting new, good staff. But the other thing I'll say is that the business manager, Brent Richter, and the administration are very good at predicting, managing, and planning. So I'd say the financial position has never been a surprise to anyone. It's not like, oh no, it's the process of budgeting and planning is very, it's very well thought out. It's very good. There's a lot of, along the way, you get a lot of information about what is happening.
Julie, are you familiar with the financial condition of the school district currently, and how would you describe it?
I am not, but I'm gonna throw a couple things out there. I know, there's over 200 employees to the school district and 1,500 kids that are enrolled in the school as of last year. So I think we have, I think the financial situation is doing fine, because as a small town, we aren't under students, like there isn't a minus in students. I think, the funding is there, they do their testing, they get funding from the state for that. So I think the money is coming in. I think the financial thing is, the extra money that was spent on safety measures for COVID and all that stuff. I think that was very expensive. So I think, the financials need to be relooked at and see what is going to be extra for the next school year if the same safety precautions have to go into effect for that. I don't know if that answers the question, but.
Heather, are you familiar with the financial condition of the school district currently, and how would you describe it?
If you can believe it, no, I don't. But with 4 kids and starting motherhood a little earlier than planned, I'm quite the budgeter. And my husband and I run a business, and I have done all the paperwork and taxes, and I self-taught myself all of that. So I don't really know, but I'm excited to get into it and learn and see what I can bring to the table and see if we can figure things out.
Very good. Christy, the next question starts with you. This is from Talia and Eric Oberlin from the city of Lodi. If elected, what are your short and long-term goals for the board?
Sure. My short-term goals are to get in and to understand how the machine works and to see where I can add my value and to start working right away. I'm a doer, I am a learner. I go in and that type in me gets the job done. Long-term goals, I hope to make a difference. I hope my value will leave this place better than when I find it. If it's a great fit for me to be on the board, I will take my 3 years as it is and then look beyond that. I sure hope to add value to, like I said, the curriculum aspect of the committees. numbers, I'm not gonna lie, are over my head. I am not a numbers person like Heather. You would be great at that. I would give that to you gladly. Of course, I'll be a team player in any way that they need me. That's not necessarily my strong suit, but yeah, short term is to get in and get digging and get going, and long term is to leave this place better than when I found it.
Angie, if elected, what are your short and long-term goals for the board?
Yeah, I would say in the short term, we are looking at a bunch of kids and community members who've had a really traumatic year, a really disruptive year, and we need to reassess where everybody is, to reflect on the things that went badly, the things that went well, and moving forward from this experience, take some good things, and then try to plan for the future. In the longer term, we're actually beginning a cycle of strategic planning, and the most important component to that, I think, is the community listening. And we've got some events coming up. One big event that'll be about community input and talking about the direction for the school district over the next 3 to 5 years, which is, I think, a really good timing. People are really thinking about the schools, and so people have a lot of thoughts, and that'll be a great process.
Julie, if elected, what are your short and long-term goals for the board?
My short-term goals would be, to get the public involved with their input, get that into the board somehow, and then long-term goals would be get more community involvement with the board meetings, with boards, and, their involvement, get the community more involved with the board and the school district and that.
Good. Heather, if elected, what are your short and long-term goals for the board?
I would say short-term would to get COVID kind of handled. There was sports and the arts really suffered this year. Having a senior, she suffered a lot, and they missed a lot of opportunities. So, and I just feel like hearing from other parents, the sports kind of was just a whirlwind. Nobody really knew, can we do this? Okay, well, she got tested, but can I? And it was just a lot of back and forth, and stuff got canceled that I didn't think was necessary. And I really want to start next school year in person as normal as possible, safely, obviously. Long term is I want to be that board member that people feel they can come to and talk to me about anything. Whether they know my opinions might be complete opposite from them, I still want to hear where their aspect is coming from, and I want to just make Lodi the best it can be.
Terry, if elected, what are your short and long-term goals for the board?
Well, I think for sure recovering from COVID in this year is the biggest thing. Mental health, the social media went on, you always have to sort of get everybody back in, get the kids back in, not just educationally caught up, not just with their personal, what they missed caught up, but also together, so don't know where the bullying went, don't know where the cliques went. I mean, it just disrupted all. And so it'll be an amazing thing to actually, this year, that when they come back together, but especially next year when they walk in together, the differences. Because some of them have almost lost a whole year of transition, like into middle school or into high school or out of high school. So that's a biggie. So I think there's a lot of listening to do with that, and I think that we really, really can't just when things seem fine, just go running off and forget it. We really have to look at what worked, what didn't work, do some work with lots of other people. And then long term, boy, outdoors, gardening, the arts, just all of that, younger. An egg, greenhouse.
Thank you. This next question starts with Angie. It's from Ken Detmer, the City of Lodi. Do you believe the old primary school will be a blight on the community, and do you believe the new school board, and do you believe the school board acted appropriately in the process of selling the old primary school?
Well, so I believe that the old primary school can, with an owner working with the city, become an asset to the city. it certainly has the potential to be so. I've not been involved since the sale of the board of the building, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I followed a little bit. And yeah, I was on the board, and I do believe that the board acted appropriately. I think that is something that the school district needed to sell the building.
Okay. Julie, do you believe the old primary school will be a blight on the community, and do you believe the school board acted appropriately in the process of selling the old primary school?
I do believe the board acted appropriately. I think that the community was not involved in it because it wasn't outly spoken, that there was meetings going on, and the community wasn't involved until after it started getting out in the open about the sale of it, and then, community members started getting angry and irritated about, they only sold it for $1,000, and I feel like if the community was more involved with it, I think the board would have done a little bit more to maybe prevent it from being sold at a cheap rate, basically, as people were saying. And I think the building, if it is run properly, it could be a good asset to our community if, if the owner would kind of get to do what he wants to do with it.
Do you believe the old primary school, Heather, will be a blight on the community, and do you believe the school board acted appropriately in the process of selling the old primary school?
I guess I'm not extremely educated on the subject. I did feel like it was, kind of as Julie was saying, kind of under the radar. And I feel like if it was kind of put out there more, I'm a business person, so I feel like we probably could have gotten more for that. And maybe, again, I wasn't involved, and I don't know enough to say we could have or we would. I just, from what I've heard, I feel like we probably could have gotten some more out of it, either bought it or sold it to a contractor. They could have, and maybe heard of more what their plans were gonna be. Instead, I kind of feel like we just sold it, and then we didn't really know what was gonna happen, and now the community's not happy about it. So I just feel like if it was a little more out there, first of all, we might have gotten more buyers to be offering. But at the same time, I don't want to speak on something that I don't completely understand or know either, but that's just kind of what I got out of what I have heard.
Terry, do you believe the old primary school will be a blight on the community, and do you believe the school board acted appropriately in the process of selling the old primary school?
Well, I sure hope it won't be a blight because it's a beautiful spot. It's a gorgeous spot. But I'm not faulting the school board because I wasn't here. I know enough about being on other boards that a lot of times something doesn't become a big issue until after it's been done and people then don't like it. So I love what Heather said about, letting people know so they could get involved. And then at least, you've done your part. As far as what's going on with it now, I don't think the school board has much to do with that. It sounds like it's more zoning. And that's beyond, again, in retrospect. I've been in that building a lot. I don't know what somebody would have paid for that. There's a lot of work to do. So.
Okay. Christy, do you believe the old primary school will be a blight on the community, and do you believe the school board acted appropriately in the process of selling the old primary school?
Okay, I'm going to speak to what the board did first, and then I'll speak to about the community. The board had every right to sell the property. They sold it at whatever they sold it for, and they had every right to do that. Was there enough transparency? Was there enough communication that went out to the city? I came in at the tail end of it, so I can't speak to that per se. From the things that I had heard coming down the pike, there wasn't. From community members, they weren't too happy with that. As far as on the community, will it be a blight? Well, that has yet to be determined what's going to happen when it gets rezoned. Right now, the owners want it to be rezoned to put business up there, and the residents don't want that. We're kind of at a standstill. For the city to acquire it and to take it back on, we're talking a lot of money. It's not a simple process. I wish I had so much more time to go into this. It's not a simple process for the city to just take it back onto the tax roll. You cannot just demolish that because it's built into a hill, there's asbestos, yada, 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 a lot more to that. So as far as the school board acting, they had every right to do what they did. As far as this community, I feel like that's yet to be determined.
Good. Julie, Next question is submitted by Bob Hunt from the town of Lodi. Considering another crisis such as COVID, would you seek information and guidance from the state, Columbia County, and adjoining school districts such as Poynette and Sauk Prairie, or rely more on Dane County, Madison for public health guidance?
That's a trick question. So I wouldn't rely, well, I would say we, because it would be the board, on, that you want to rely on the CDC, which they are the big people. Dane County is a different district. They have different populations, different things going on. If we're gonna do it that way, then I would say do it somewhere that's closer to home, which would be Poynette. And I think his point is saying, you know, Poynette has been open the whole time since September. Why wasn't our schools open, just like Poynette's schools was open? And why did the board follow Dane County? Why did the board, you know, follow what Dane County was doing? I think the board was just doing the best that they could do with what information that they had and trying to provide safety for our children. And I know it was probably a hard decision for them, a lot of angry parents. But I just feel like, you know, they did the best they could.
Okay. Heather, considering another crisis such as COVID, would you seek information and guidance from the state, Columbia County, and adjoining school districts such as Poynette and Sauk, or would you rely more on Dane County/Madison for public health guidance?
Obviously, the more data, the more you listen, that's great. You want to get all your info from as many things as possible. As far as Columbia and Dane County, we are in Columbia County. Yes, we have students that live in Dane County. We have students that live in other, surrounding areas if they don't live in here and they, come to our school still. But we are in Columbia County, so I would base it on Columbia County. But I would also not just base it on the whole county or the whole state, but we need to base it on our community too. So, for instance, if the numbers are not that high in our community and we're still going well and whatever, if it's like a COVID thing, we need to base that on us, not everybody around us.
Okay, Terry, considering another crisis such as COVID, would you seek information and guidance from the state, Columbia County, and adjoining school districts such as Poynette or Sauk Prairie, or rely more on Dane County, Madison for public health guidance?
I lived this for 26 years. So school districts work together. Columbia, we have to go with the CDC and the federal government and what the state says. When we closed during H1N1 for several days, that was a CDC mandate. And it was based on the fact that 25% of the elementary school was out sick with H1N1. And we went through and we called, and our medical advisor was part of it. The county nurses were part of it. It's bigger than people realize. And there's a reporting system that comes through. So the nurses as well as the district administrators meet, and it's district-wide, it's Columbia, it's 50-mile radius. And we always were more like Sauk Prairie and actually I have to tell you, sometimes Poynette was looking at Lodi. So they work together. I believe we're rural, and so I think we're different than Dane County in many ways, but it's not about county and what they say. It is truly about looking at what's happening where you are and what the numbers are, but there's some things you have to go with. There's, it's just the legalities of it. So, and you're between a rock and a hard place. There is never, ever somebody that's gonna be happy. Why aren't you doing it like Wanakee? Why aren't you doing it like the other? So.
Christy?
I think, sorry, I got the question.
Yeah.
I think there's wisdom in looking at all relevant data. I think that there's guidance from all different places, but I would rely heavily on our county to finalize decisions, but it does help to look at what other school districts are doing, and they play a big part in what we're at. I think if we're in a pandemic situation, I forget who had said it, but they're correct. Our numbers do matter. Outside numbers do matter, but we need to look at where we're at to make those decisions. So of course, there's wisdom in reading all of the information, I get a lot of it that comes across my desk, and a lot of it goes into play with what we do at the chamber. So I think that going forward, heaven forbid if another pandemic were to happen, I think that there's wisdom in that, but I think our county is here for a reason to help guide us, and I think that we can rely on that.
Do you want me to repeat it?
No. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if the question is, if another pandemic were to occur, I think we're all, including the board, are very well versed now on what information do you need to look at now that we've lived through this year, like the transmissibility between age groups. Does it matter if you're in a more rural area? Does it matter what businesses are open? Does it matter, how much does it matter within your community transmission? And then like when the dashboard came out that showed it by school district, that was great. I mean, so now the data can be broken down by really small granular, like within a 10-mile radius of Lodi, how many cases versus, somewhere else. Of course, early on, those tools were not available at all. As far as if there was another crisis, who do you look to? It is, you look to all around you, because you're in the information gathering stage for so often.
I started that with you, right?
Do you want to answer it again?
No, I forgot.
It's been around the horn. You sure you don't want to
No,
come? All
I'm
right,
positive.
fine. Heather, this one starts with you. This is from Janelle Anderson from the city of Lodi. The work of teachers has gotten more complex and their burdens heavier over the past 5 years, all of which makes it more difficult for them to serve students with complex needs. What do you think the school board can or should do to help support teachers and lighten their loads so they can more effectively serve students?
Yes, I agree. This year and the last few years, obviously, as she said, because I believe Janelle is a teacher in Middleton, I believe. I'm not sure. She used to be a Lodi teacher.
I think so.
But this past year, I cannot believe what the teachers have had to go through, and I'm quite worried that we're going, not just Lodi, everywhere is going to lose teachers. And we need to make sure that we keep them happy. We got to check on them just as much as our students. And I guess what we can offer is just support. And to be honest, I'm a person that's pretty, in the last few years, I feel that the teachers get the blame on a lot. And I think we as parents and the school board needs to stop putting so much on the teachers and listen to them and say, hey, what do you need from us? Instead of it being like, well, you should be doing this and you should be doing this, because we don't know. Those teachers are amazing. They're with our kids every day, and we need to listen to them.
Let me know if you need me to repeat the question.
I don't think so. I agree with Heather. We really need to support them. This has been an incredibly tough year. They're just, for so many reasons, because they had a switch. Like, I was at the middle school in a classroom the day before school shut down last year, and they were talking about, well, this is what we're going to do. And then all of a sudden, the next day, I didn't even get to go back and finish what I was doing. It was done. So it was that fast. So to have to switch around and make it go, it was like, I don't even know how anybody did it anywhere. So yes, they need more support. And the mental health part of this, it's going to be huge, not just for the kids. It's not just going to be we walk back in, everybody's fine. People are shell-shocked from all of this. There's kids that are going to be afraid to go to school that have been at home when they go to school. There's other kids, I mean, it's just all around. So I think as a board member, boy, we're going to be doing a lot of listening and supportive and kind words and noticing, validating. Yeah, would it be great to give everybody a big raise and extra days off? I'm not sure that's possible. But our ears are and our hearts.
I am incredibly grateful for every teacher in our district. Now that my children are in traditional school, I am that much more grateful, because what they do for my kids personally is absolutely amazing. There are some nights at 10 o'clock at night I get an email from my son's teacher, and it blows me away that they're still thinking about them at 10 o'clock at night. I think in order to support our teachers, we need to have clear communication with them to find out what they need. And where we're falling short in that support. I think we need clear expectations laid out for them so that they understand what's expected for them in the classroom and beyond, and then what they're doing over in abundance. How can we even support that? Because that's just in a teacher's nature to give more, but we need to make sure that as a board we are supporting them in every aspect to not go over and above way too much that they're burning themselves out, but that there's those clear lines of communication between us and them.
You don't need to read the question to me.
You got it.
I think that, that we, at the board level, we have talked a bit about getting more into the schools, like we all try to get into the schools, as part of being a board member, but even more, like, to really do it, like, really schedule it, and to literally sit in a teacher's classroom and to notice what percentage of the time they're doing paperwork or data collection or, working on initiatives that we on a board level might think are great, but that may not be what we thought the teachers were doing. Because I've spent time in classrooms as a parent, but, observing that kind of thing and then volunteering. But I think board members in particular need to spend more time literally with teachers and in the buildings and see what they're doing, because it's a lot more than I think we sometimes, it is definitely more than we realize what they're doing.
I think that we need to practice self-compassion as a community for our teachers this past year. I think the community needs to work together with the schools, maybe to integrate like a health service, not only for the kids that are going to need it, but also for the teachers. And the compassion we should feel is we all became a teacher this past year. And, we know how it feels to be a teacher. The kids, how they struggle sometimes and their meltdowns, and just imagine the teachers deal with this every single day and have dealt with it every single day. And now that these kids are going to go back into school and they've been home, some of them are going to be homesick. Some of them are going to be struggling for the changes. Some of them are not going to want to sit still because they haven't been used to that in the last year. So I feel like our teachers are going to need some mental health. They're going to need some, some counseling, and I feel like the schools should maybe provide that for the teachers, not only for the kids too.
Thank you. In an effort of our time limit here, unfortunately, as I told you, I have pages of questions. So I thank everybody in our community that submitted the questions, and I apologize if we didn't get to all of them. But I think we had a very good sampling of questions for you each to answer tonight. So I thank you all for generously giving of your time. I'll have other comments afterwards, but why don't we go to closing statements? And with that, we will start with Terry.
Okay. So I'm just so glad we're all here. And what I love is that we all have the same vision. It's about the kids. Our priorities and how we get there might all be different. And there'd be more things thrown in, I'm sure, on us as we got on board, because there's things that we don't even know might come up in a facilities meeting. But I've always been really proud of this district. I always brag about this district all the way through. And even for my own education and the teachers that were here and the people that are still here, the community, the support. I go to other meetings with other school nurses and administrators, and it's like, wow, I'm so glad I have these kids to deal with, these parents to deal with in this community. And not saying every phone call I ever had was nice, but it was, by and large, it's great. So, again, I would really want to be able to do my, I don't know, just I feel like my compassionate duty to this, for this school district as a grandma and a mom. And, it's just exciting. It's an exciting time. I'm not looking at all of this as tension and gloom and doom. There's some really cool things that have happened. And I think, as Julie said, if parents, kids come back to school and they're homesick, parents also adore what the teachers have been doing, and so it'll be intriguing, just a very intriguing time. So.
Again, I just think I could bring a different perspective to the table. I know I'm only one vote, but I would love to be part of those discussions for our district. The board had such tough decisions to make this year, and I do want to applaud them for putting up with all the criticism. I hope they got as many good emails as bad. I know people can be immature and rude, and even though I might have disagreed with the board, I still respected them highly for being on our school board. If I get on the school board, I want people to email me with opinions, thoughts, concerns. I want to hear you. I felt very unheard this year, and I want to change that for anyone else that felt the same. I'm a huge supporter of sports and the arts. I enjoy watching my kids and their classmates play and perform. I love seeing all the talent and skills that comes out of Lodi, and I want Lodi to offer as many opportunities for our kids as possible, in the classroom and in school clubs, sports, and activities. Having 4 children, I recognize that all kids learn, react, and get motivated in different ways. I understand that we need to offer as much as we can so our kids get the most out of Lodi School District. I also understand that a huge, very important part of those things is to make sure that our teachers are also feeling motivated and happy to give our kids the best education possible. I know it's going to be tough, and I'm basically putting my money where my mouth is, but I'm up for the challenge, and I just want what is best for our district.
All right. My big word is bipartisan. I treated the community as a bipartisan person by not judging anyone on their political stance, religion, or race, and of course, financial situation. I listen to and respond to the community's concerns and explain to the district's priorities to the public community. I want to serve as a leader and a representative of the community, advocate for the students and the district and teachers, of course. I am not running against the board, I am running to work with them. It's not the school board's role to run the schools, it is the school board's role to see to it that the schools are run well. It takes parents, teachers, and the board, of course, to make that happen.
Okay. I think this is a really great time to be on the school board, honestly. I think that there's a really high community interest in the board. There's a new superintendent, there's new administrators within the district that have all worked very hard over this year, and now we can take a little bit of a step back and hopefully have a little breathing room to look at what has happened over the past year, to get the perspectives of the students, the teachers, the parents, the community, and to find out what is the most valuable parts. What do we value the most? What are the most valuable parts of school? It's almost like a moment to reevaluate what school is and what school is within our community. And it's not easy to be the object of the interest of so many people, because it's hard, and you want to try to do your best. But again, that's how you do your best, is you know the stakes are really high. And they're high. They're always high, but they're really high now. I think that this has been a tough time for everybody, and I think it's going to be a lot better. So I'm excited. I hope to be part of the board in the future.
To the community, I want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time to get to know me. Thank you for your involvement in our community by submitting these questions. I think it speaks a lot about our community and wanting to make sure that they have a very clear picture of who they are voting onto the board. That means a lot to me personally, so I just want to say thank you. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how I can serve our community in this capacity. I am eager and ready to jump in and to make a difference, and I would hope that that our community would take the time to consider voting for me on April 6th, or you can early vote and get that in, and let me be able to represent you as a community and our children. And most of all, I'm doing this for their tomorrow.
Thank you. Once again, on behalf of the Lodi Optimist, I want to thank each of you for taking the time out this evening. This is our spring break. Whee! And for participating, for taking the time to answer questions from the community. I think this was an excellent forum. I love all the thoughts. I love all of the ideas. Again, it's early voting is through April 2nd. In person is Tuesday, April 6th. School board is only one of the boxes on our voting ballot this year, so please do your civic duty. And once again, a reminder that for all races, on Tuesday, the 6th. If you ask your clerk for a list of the registered write-in voters, you will be given a list for each of the races that possibly has a write-in voter. So if you have any further questions, then once again, thank you. It's humbling to serve our community. It is hard work. You have to give a lot of hours to it, but we are so appreciative that you took the opportunity to step forward and put your name in the ring. So thank you very much for that. So with that, we will conclude. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
Great job, you guys.